Hey everybody, it's Tara Caffell here, and welcome to episode 2 of That's All I Got. I know, it's kind of exciting. 2 episodes. I'm Tara Caffell. Did I say that? I don't remember. I just did again anyway. And I'm a coach and a writer this is me. I talk a lot about grief. So get cozy, because that's what today is all about too. I'm talking about the grief of fall. Okay, so there's certainly a bit of whiplash going on for me because the summer went so darn fast. It just went like a really fast thing. It just went fast. And so part of me is wondering where the summer went, looking at my gardens and going, okay, you guys are done. You're kind of winding down your activity, and I'm plucking and pulling and harvesting. And so I think fall lends itself nicely to grief because, the leaves are falling. And they're teaching us how beautiful it can be to let things go that are no longer alive. And nature also calls us to move inside, right? The days get shorter, it gets chillier, and we've harvested everything in our fields, if we were farmers and stuff way back when. So we've brought it all inside, and now it's time to enjoy the bounty and to catch up with our family again and to break bread at the table and to, eat and enjoy and fatten up for next year. That's my idea anyway, fattening up. Anyway. So grief is all over the place. Nature tells us this. Sorry, I'm just getting comfortable. So I keep noticing around me there's lots of grief, and I want to just tell you the different pieces of it. So if you haven't watched the video from last week, you totes should. And it's about being humane in our grief as we are humans, because once we know what everyone else is going through, we can be a little bit more humane and understanding and compassionate towards one another. So the first grief I think of is the grief of people who have died. It tends to rear its head in the fall a little bit. So in a couple of ways, either we've lost someone in the fall and so their death anniversary is coming up, or we're going to miss them in the routines as we fall back into them. And here's an example. My friend lost her dad in March of, 2017? Doesn't matter. It wasn't it was 2018. The point is that she lost him, and that the whole family is missing him still, right? They've moved on in so many of their routines, and they've moved forward without him, but they still miss him. And so he was a big part of back to school. He would drive the kids to school every single day, and he'd pick them up at the end of the day. So he was a big part of that routine. So as that routine rolls to a start again, missing is Grandpa. And it doesn't matter how long he's been gone, he's still missing. And he's not a part of what is happening as we move forward, especially with these harvesty dinners that we might be enjoying and this time inside. We're going to miss very acutely people who are no longer with us. So there's that. And then there can be life events. Like my husband, his birthday's in the fall. He lost his mother in December when he was a child. And for a long time, he lived in the lower mainland of British Columbia, where it rains and rains and rains and rains. And then for a little change of pace, it pours, but it's gray forever. So that's what he kind of lumps fall to be. And it is filled with some grief. Doesn't like getting older, doesn't like thinking about the life that he's living without his mom, or his dad for that matter. They've both passed on. And so he kind of gets there in that place. And I get it. There's grief here. There can be grief around birthdays. So there's that. And then there's the obvious. Kids are going back to school. And they're adorable. Let's just get that straight. I live on a street where kids ride their bikes to school by themselves. I just want to go out and squish them. They're so adorable. But here's the thing. If we have somebody who is starting kindergarten, there's grief there, especially if mom or dad has been home with them when they weren't in school, and suddenly this big milestone that they are now in school. And I know a lot of moms are super excited, or parents are super excited to see the kids going back, like, yay, get out of my house, you're so noisy and annoying. But there's also what do I do with myself now that they're gone and now that everything's back? There's a thud that it can land with. So we've got little kids who start school, and maybe they're the last of the family to start school. Maybe it's the youngest, right? The youngest of 18 kids. That's a hard ending. Like, we're not going to have any more kids starting kindergarten. This is the last first day of school for this kid, right? And then we have older kids who are, experiencing grief when their friends move away, or they're in a new classroom and they're trying to navigate some changes, or maybe they don't have the teacher they had anymore, or they're at a new school completely, or a sibling has graduated and we have to figure out how to be in the school by ourselves. There's all kinds of things there. And then we get to older kids who have graduated because they're so smart, and now we don't have back to school anymore. We don't have photos to take. We don't have school supplies to buy. We don't have any of that community or that ritual and habit that we had set up, and now it's over. And what do we do now? And maybe we're dropping our kids at university. I will never forget that my mother cried every single time she dropped me off, because it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard. There's pride and anxiety and fear, big fear to let your baby go. And there's everything in between. So there's a lot of grief and joy, but a lot of grief in the fall. And then I think of kids, people who didn't have kids, who maybe wanted to have kids. Like, I can remember Labor Day being kind of a pain in the ass for me because I didn't have kids. I was divorced. I didn't see any prospects to have kids. And so it was actually kind of a bummer it was fun to see my kids post, or my friends post pictures of their kids going to school. But at the same time, it was also really a grief moment to go, I may have missed out, and I wish that this had happened in my life. Right? So that's all there too. Whew. Grief is everywhere, baby. Everywhere. So, moving forward, I think a real nice action step is to check in on our parents, like our friends, ourselves, our neighbors. Who do you know who's a parent? And as you're checking on the status of little Joey or Johnny or Jessica or whatever people name their kids now, the status of how are they in school, are they in grade 2, do they like their teacher, the logistical fact-finding stuff. Maybe we can also ask, how are you doing? How is that transition for you? Do you miss having them at home? What are you discovering about your time? Right? Just have some conversations. That's what I'm prompting you to do here. Have some conversations and care about each other and act in a humane way, recognizing that lots of people around us, everyone around us, is going through some kind of transition most of the time. And in the fall, it's particularly so. So recognize that. Ask some questions. Care about other people. And as I said in the previous video, episode 1, if you're feeling helpless, that's probably the time to just kind of be with your friend, because some of these transitions can be really hard. Okay? Okay, good. I will see you in a fortnight. Don't we love saying that word, fortnight? It means 2 weeks from now. I will be back with episode 3. This is episode 2, and if you've missed episode 1, then you should go do that and subscribe. Then you won't miss anything. Okay, and that's all I got for this week. I'm Tara Caffell. Bye.